amazing business owner, Danielle Romanetti.
Yes, I've read all about your
Thank
work.
you.
Hi,
Welcome.
it's nice
I know,
to meet
do
you.
the elbow bump.
Whoa, this is beautiful. Look at
Yes.
this.
Come on over. I'll
Hi.
tell you about the
Oh,
shop.
is that where I am?
Yes,
Okay.
you're there.
Hi, I'm Kamala Harris.
Hi, I'm Maya.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
I'm Beth.
Kamala Harris. Nice to see you. Thank you, guys.
Hello.
Hello. How are you? Nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you.
So welcome. Thanks for coming to Old Town. We consider ourselves to be the capital of small business community within the DC metro area. So we are a boutique yarn shop. So we sell yarn to knitters, crocheters, weavers, and spinners. We really specialize in small boutique stuff that you can't find anywhere else. I've got yarns in the store you can't find anywhere else in the country.
I believe that.
And amazing
I mean, look at
local dyers.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, she actually has a colorway named after you. I'll show it to you.
Oh, okay.
It's called Observatory. So
I like to see what that color is.
Okay. So we really, the heart of our business is community building. So our classes and our workshops and our knitting help bar, similar to an apple bar where people can come in and get their stitches picked up. And obviously all of that sort of changed last spring. So we'll talk a bit more about that when you hear from my staff. So I guess I'll pass it back to you to tee off the conversation so you can hear from us.
Well, first of all, let me say I'm so happy to be here. I've read about your business and what you do. I mean, it is the story of small businesses, right? Which is, it's about a skill, it's about a gift, it's about a passion, and then it's about sharing that with community and doing it in a way that you bring the community in. I know about how you host events, pre-COVID, and this is the thing about small businesses, which is you really are part of the fabric of a community, right? Yeah. But it's part of the culture of a community. It's a gathering place. It's a meeting place, and our small business owners are really not only business leaders but civic leaders. But I was particularly excited because, you see, I was raised by a mother who said, "I'm not going to let you sit in front of that television doing nothing." And so I have crocheted more Afghans than I can tell you. Awesome. And our daughter is a knitter.
Yep.
So I was very excited to be here and to see this. And thank you. And let's hear from everyone.
Yeah. Maya, do you want to start?
Yeah. So my name is Maya. I was born on a naval base in Adak, Alaska. So I'm the daughter of a Gulf War veteran. And like a lot of people my age, I haven't been able to see my family in over a year at this point.
Yeah.
And I've been working here at Fiberspace for over 2 years. And what really drew me here was the community space, of course.
Yeah.
I left my previous very high-stressed, high-end retail job to come here because I really fell in love with teaching. And that is a major aspect of working here is being able to teach. Being able to teach on the floor, and also being able to teach classes.
Right.
So that is something that I fell in love with. And of course, this time last year, our entire business changed.
Yes.
And so we had to pivot extremely quickly in order to just keep our heads above water. So we switched from being a massive community space where people could just drop in and just hang out for hours into a web-based business, which is, of course, nothing that we ever wanted to do before. But luckily we had sort of a web frame already, so we were able to do that change pretty quickly, but it really has not been easy on us and the staff. So we had to deal with a lot of burnout from staff.
Yeah.
And we had to just keep dealing with just learning new jobs on the fly, on days where we just had to, our jobs were just changing constantly, so we had to learn new skills very suddenly, and just keep thinking on our feet to keep the business running. So it's been a really tough year for us. Instead of just opening up our doors to the community, we've just turned into a place where we spend over half of our day just shipping out web orders constantly.
I bet that also challenged you in terms of thinking about how you do online
Yeah,
the
we're
work
very
that you've been
dependent on
doing.
the Postal Service.
Yeah,
which
right.
was a challenge.
God love the United States
Yes,
Postal Service, by the
we
way,
love
right?
our postman. He is wonderful.
That's exactly
Yes.
right.
Exactly
Among the
every day,
heroes
every
of the
day.
moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. They're overtaxed. So
And
we're
they
getting
keep
things to
showing up.
customers it's been difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now luckily we're able to be open again to the public.
Yeah.
But we're now in a position where we're still at the front lines of the pandemic, but have no prospects of getting the vaccine anytime soon as retail workers and as service workers. So it's still very high stress being in this sort of market in this sort of position. So.
Well, the president announced yesterday, so by the end of May, we will have enough vaccines for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
And then we just want to make sure everyone gets them, and
so
with
exciting.
a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for you keep coming back, though, right?
Yes.
You kept coming back.
Yes.
That's the thing. That's the thing. And we're going to get through this.
Absolutely.
And it's people like you who help us get through this, right?
Yeah, we worked nonstop throughout this entire pandemic. We basically never took a day off here. So, yeah.
Thank you, Maya.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Beth. I'm originally
Beth.
from Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm married to a State Department employee who is a huge Warriors fan, so he wanted me to tell you, go Warriors.
Yay, go Warriors!
I wear my hand, I knit this sweater in Warriors blue for when we watch the games
You're
together.
kidding me. I got a jersey from Curry. I have to show you. I'm so, and it's 49. I'm like, that's not his number. And then I realized, well, it's my number.
So I'm a full-time yarnista. I've been here since October 2019, so I was just getting on my feet in this store when COVID came around, and I'm a fifth-generation knitter because I also come from a nice Midwestern family that does not let you sit in front of the TV without being productive.
Right.
I'm also the mom to a very sweet, very high-energy, almost 3-year-old.
Oh, boy.
So when the pandemic started, he had just started at a new daycare that promptly had to shut down. And the reason he's in daycare is I work here full-time. My husband works full-time as well. We need daycare to be able to have our full-time jobs, and I need a full-time job to be able to pay for daycare in this area. And so when his daycare shut down, we had to come together as a family to figure out who's going to do this childcare role.
Right.
And I'm very fortunate that my mom made the sacrifice, like so many moms have made throughout history, that my mom took a hiatus from her job so that she could provide full-time childcare and I could still come to work. And so then because Danielle was able to get support from the government to keep our business open, to keep paying employees, to keep us open, even as we were shut down through the employment, even as retail was shut down, we were able to continue to pay my son's preschool tuition that we were not using because we didn't want to put all of his teachers are women with families.
Yes.
We didn't want them to lose work either. So because we were still getting paid, we were able to be sure that they were still getting paid. And when money is invested in small businesses in a community like this, it stays in this community. And it helps the whole community during times of crisis. And now that we're back open to the public, my mom is living with us. She's no longer helping out with childcare as much. She's just, enjoying being grandma again.
Yeah.
But we're very much, as Maya said, on the front line of this. We deal with people every day, and we love dealing with people. It's why we got into this business. But it is very terrifying to think I could be the one that brings this home to my family, to my mom, who's over 65, to my son, who is just about to turn 3 and have his second pandemic birthday where we're not having a party and these things. So we're very excited about the news about the vaccine because we want to be here. We want to help people. We have been seeing a lot of new knitters during this pandemic because we're at home doing things. It's a great stress reliever.
Yeah. It's also therapeutic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you create.
And so, and so we're here to help, but we all have families that we go home to too. So if we can all work together to keep our communities safe and keep our communities viable through these small businesses, it's very much appreciated by one little family and by lots of families beyond that are touched by it.
Beth, I did a meeting last night with a bunch of members of Congress, and the way it's exactly what you were talking about in your story. There's a really I think fantastic circle of connection, and that goes to a working woman, right? So women in the workforce, and if she is a mom, requires for her to go to work every day childcare. So then when we talk about childcare, there are 2 points, availability and affordability, both points you made. And then if we're talking about childcare, we have to talk about childcare workers, your point also. And are they being paid and valued for what they do? And then, interestingly enough, a lot of women-owned businesses are childcare.
Yeah.
So it gets to right. So it gets to women-owned businesses, which of course gets to the support of small businesses. It's you just outlined it with your one story in such a beautiful way, like all the dimensions of you coming to work, and coming to work in a women-owned business that probably also serves a lot of the women in the community.
Yep.
Like it's just a really interesting ecosystem when you think of it that way, which you just outlined so beautifully. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Vice President. I'm Marisa Potts. I own a small boutique marketing communications firm here in Old Town called Spotted MP. And I serve women-owned businesses like Danielle in sharing their communication, their stories that has been going on. And I've been with Danielle since she's opened the store a decade ago. But when you touch on women-owned businesses, it hits really home. I'm also a mom to a 12-year-old son. I'm a wife, and I'm running my own small business here in Old Town as a Black-owned business owner. But during this time, majority of the businesses in this town are women-owned. And during this past year, I have been on the ground and assisting these women-owned businesses with telling their stories of their impact and the challenges and the innovation as well that has been happening.
Right.
There's women that, like Danielle and myself, where we have to bring our kids in to work while we're trying to make a sale.
We'll get her.
Yeah. Maddie.
There's Maddie. Yeah, so there's, so many women here that they're forced to bring their kids into work just to try to make a sale, to just having to close their business on a off day because they don't have childcare, or just having to make deliveries, online deliveries, to their customers with their kids in their car. I mean, this is just examples of what some of these women-owned businesses here in Alexandria having to face, and the seat that I sit in to communicate these challenges and even help with these women businesses trying to work together. But, community is so important, and I know as a women-owned business owner, we thrive off of that. And to be inside retail and create those events and those safe spaces where we build community is what we're all about here as women-owned businesses. And so just having an online presence is just not an option, because it's our livelihood that we have to have for the vitality to thrive, because it's been extremely challenging here for the women here that run businesses.
It's interesting. I have traveled, especially before COVID, a lot around the country, and but women-owned small businesses around the country are describing exactly the same thing. There's a group of sisters that, for example, they have a juice bar but all over the country anyway, and just that, no childcare because of COVID, and bringing their kids then to work, and it might be a storage room, it might be the back room, and then setting them up with a laptop, because you got to just make everything work, and to your point, be innovative. But it really does also highlight how much in so-called normal times women are juggling, and it might be their children, it might be that they're in what we call that sandwich situation, right? Generation, where it's their parents and their children, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It got voted out of the House, and we're now hoping that the Senate passes our American Rescue Plan. And a lot of it, and the way the President and I think about it, is that we have to understand who, to your point, are the folks who have been sacrificing so much on the front lines, and really are part of not only the economic engine, but to your point, the vitality of community.
Yep.
And so we have, for example, as part of the American Rescue Plan, $15 billion that goes just into small businesses. We've been paying a lot of attention to the fact that during COVID, 2.5 million women have left the workforce. And we are afraid almost maybe some of them permanently until we work all this stuff out, right? That's why we're also pushing for the $1,400 relief check. But it's also about, to the point of everybody's story, seeing how this pandemic has really highlighted the fissures and the failures of the system even before, right? When we don't have a system that it says everybody should have paid sick leave, paid family leave, right? A system that says we should value people for the work they do, understanding if they are helping the economic engine run because they're taking care of the children of working people, that they should be, given the value and the dignity that they deserve for what they contribute to families and to communities and to all of society. But that's part of what we're doing in pushing for the American Rescue Plan. Also vaccinations. We made an announcement yesterday. The president made an announcement, priority for educators before the end of March. And educators understanding that it's bus drivers and it's the cafeteria worker and it's the teachers and the support staff. But there's a lot here. And part of, again, what we're doing is we want to make sure everybody knows about the American Rescue Plan, because a lot of it is about making sure that we get support to schools. And we also have a real attention as a priority to what we also need to do that is about eventually growing around universal pre-K. And so that your baby can have those options. Yeah.
So some of the challenges that, or kind of benefits that we had in the spring of last year that sort of kept us going, we did receive a PPP loan right at about the time when I needed to start laying off my staff because we were closed to the public. And that allowed me to keep everybody on board. We also received the EIDL disaster loan, which gave us some working capital, which was wonderful. So spring was, my daughter was obviously home from school all of a sudden, so balancing my daughter at home, constant barrage of messages on grants to apply for and loans to apply for, and figuring out that process, because that was a whole new world. We were also really lucky. This building was purchased with an SBA 504 loan, so that that payment was deferred for a series of months, thankfully, through that through the SBA. And then my bank, which is a local regional bank, also deferred our loan payments. That's really how we stayed in business over the spring. And then we also, the city of Alexandria took their CARES Act money and invested it in small businesses. So we received 2 grants from the city. One to completely overhaul my website, because our web store, there's a lot of tiny objects in here. So our web store was not set up to do this. So that was a huge benefit.
And they came in after March of last year.
Yeah, this money came in, we received the grant in, I believe, November. We were in the second round of that grant money. We also received a second grant from the city to expand our outdoor space so that we could try to replicate that community gathering space outside where it was safe, because the lounge that once was in here we couldn't use. Our customers couldn't be here. But even with all of that, retail sales, even with COVID in 2020, retail sales online, web stores, was only 20% of consumer spending. So in a small business, that's more like 5 to 10% of their income. So shifting to online does not replace what happens in businesses like this, where people are here buying because they don't need yarn. They want to have an experience. And so we really can't get back what we lost until we can be fully open again.
And so much of your business is tactile.
It's all tactile. You need to be able to feel it and really see the color. So our biggest concerns right now are obviously the safe reopening of schools, which would help customers, staff, and myself. We're fortunate that the Campagna Center, a local nonprofit, is offering full-day childcare. It is a huge expense on our family, over $1,100 a month. But it gives my kid some normalcy. She's with other children, and I'm able to run my business. We are only a team of 5. There's 3 people here each shift, which means if we have a COVID case, my entire staff is gone.
That's right.
So I am working from home so that I can at least be here and get the doors open for a couple hours. But that's a huge concern. When the Families First Act runs out at the end of March, I am no longer covered to pay that staff. So having that extended beyond March is really crucial. We need to be able to pay. We need to be able to pay them without it being a huge burden, because to pay 5 staff members who are not here is obviously an enormous burden on the business.
Right.
So those are sort of the priorities, beyond what they mentioned about vaccines as well, obviously, because we're directly working with the public every day. Those are kind of the things that we're most nervous about headed into the next few months. So
we are all nervous about that,
Yeah.
which is why we have to get this act passed. And it is, some people say stimulus. No, this is literally about relief for people who need it right now. But I don't need to tell you all that. I don't need to tell you that. And it is about everyone. It is about, it is about working people. It is about families. It is about small business owners, community leaders. And I do think that it's going to be interesting to see how history will talk about this moment. But one of the things I'm certain of is that history is going to talk about the angels walking among us, that maybe we didn't see them before, but we see them now, and we will call them heroes. And it's going to be our small business owners. It's going to be our working parents. It's going to be the people who came to work every day, not sure, what kind of risk you were taking, but you knew you were performing a very valuable service for others. It's going to be the postal worker. It's going to be, right? It's going to be, yeah, we're going to talk about really incredible heroes, right? I like to say, who we didn't realize, but now that we look closer, we can see they were actually wearing a cape. Right? So, well, thank you for sharing this. And this is really, it's wonderful. And I tell you, the president and I feel so very strongly, in particular, about our small businesses. I don't need to share with you, but for the rest of everybody, 50% of America's workforce works for a small business or runs a small business. And, and it's the place where you can go where, I'm going to sound like a commercial for a very old TV show, but where everybody knows your name. Right. Right?
My customers are across the street.
Right? Yeah, but it's true. Where they can kind of, or if it's the local restaurant where they can see you had a hard day and you don't even have to look at the menu. They just put down in front of you what you like to eat, right? Yeah. It's so much a part of the fabric of community.
Yep.
So thank you for sharing this with us. Thank you so very much. Thank you all. Thank you.